All right, what's up, everybody? It is Jim Cooley. I'm here with Steve Barnett, one of the promoters behind Bay Area Combat. Today, we are going to be talking about Saturday, February 23rd. Bay Area Combat returns to the Napa Valley Expo for probably what I think is going to be the biggest show that you guys have had so far, Steve.
I think so too, because I've got a stacked lineup. I got some really good fights coming up, so I put a lot of time and effort into this matchups and stuff. So I think it's spectacular.
Absolutely. And before we get into the matchups, because we do have a lot to talk about, there's 13 big fights. We have a co-main event. We have a main event, 2 titles on the line. We got the 45 title and we got the lightweight title on the line. And that's going to be a big fight.
Three
titles on the line.
Yeah.
But before we talk about that, let's tell the people at home, because a lot of people that may be listening or watching don't know that much about Bay Area Combat. You guys have broke new ground. I'm going to tell you why. Not only do you have a great show and you're drawing people that I don't see get drawn at other shows. I mean, you guys are packed every single show. It's a sellout crowd. But you brought in Panda Cup. You guys did cross promotion. You had titles for them on your show, titles for you on their show. You guys are doing a lot of new stuff. First of all, what made you guys want to do this with Bay Area Combat?
Well, I've seen a lot of promotions not get along with each other, and I think that actually hurts the fighters. I think it hurts the fight shows itself. And my goal is to actually provide a unity between all the promotions and stuff.
Right.
It's like I actually try to coordinate, set up times and stuff and dates of shows that are not interfering with other promotions and stuff, which I think is groundbreaking in my opinion.
Absolutely, it is. And I've talked about that before. I actually talked about that on another show. But the thing is with boxing that people don't understand is you have sanctioning bodies, the WBC, the WBO, the WBA. And what happens is these sanctioning bodies can put titles on any fighter from any promotion because they're not companies that are putting on these shows. They're just promoting companies. Yep. Whereas in MMA, everyone has their own company, their own cage, their own fighter. So it's harder to get that cohesive unit going. But you guys have managed to do that with Bubba Sorgman, Anthony Bivens, and others. So I think that's awesome. And so I think that those of you at home that have never seen Bay Area Combat, come out, check it out. Like I said, it's groundbreaking. We're going to talk about a lot of these fighters. Before we get into the big fights, the Terrence Saturns, the Isaiah Paralysis, Ian Masloff, Bueno and Wright, which is going to be a great fight. We're going to talk about the 3 title fights. Let's start from the top. So we have the undefeated Ezra Clark out of Dragon House, and he's taking on Justoni Balansat from Grind Ambition. Tell me about that fight. What made you want to make that fight?
Well, he actually hit me up to one in a fight. He trains at the UFC gym over at Concord with Christopher Fernandez, and they hit me up and he wanted to fight. And I actually had Ezra Clark on standby for the matchup. Zhang's another promoter that I work with all the time. He supplies these fighters for missing fights and stuff. And he's all, hey, I got Ezra. I'm like, that sounds like a great matchup. These guys are gonna, Ezra's a tough guy. I know he's got a good wrestling background, and just he's new to the game. This is absolutely his first go around.
Right.
Hopefully nerves don't get a hold of it, because sometimes nerves will kick your ass before the fight happens.
Yeah, the nerves and the adrenaline dump the first time in front of that crowd, and you come out to Bay Area Combat and see all those people, and then you get in the cage and you're all pumped up, and then all of a sudden you have that adrenaline dump. And you mentioned Chris Fernandez. We saw him fight Isaiah Paralysis at a previous Bay Area Combat. So that was huge fight, unanimous decision. War. Yeah, I mean, it could have went either way. So if Justoni's up there training with Fernandez and those guys at the UFC gym, then he's going to come out ready to bang.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be good.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we move on from there, and we're going to go to the lightweight division. Romeo Beltran, the Unit MMA, says backyard. You're going to have to tell me about that. And he's going to take on Vladimir Jacinto, who's 0-1 in an indie fighter. So basically, we have 2 brand new fighters again, which you'll see a lot on these local shows. These new fighters come out and getting their feet wet early on in the early stages of the card.
So Romeo's I think he's a blue or purple belt jiu-jitsu. He's got some boxing under his belt. And Vladimir's a tough ass dude coming up from down south, mid-state California, I think Bakersfield area.
Right.
Tough ass dude. He's had a fight before. It was kind of it was a war. Mm-hmm. So these 2 guys, Romeo, looking at his picture, kid looks like he's in shape and ready to fight. You know what I mean? I honestly don't know how that fight's going to go. So
he looks the part. Now we got to find out if he can play the part.
Exactly.
And that's what we'll find out in February. So
sometimes,
next weekend.
Looks can be absolutely deceiving. You never know, because, you get the Roy Nelson or you get the fucking beefcake.
Yeah. We've seen a lot of guys come out over the years. You and I have been around this sport a very long time. See guys that come out and look like action figures, or they're like professional vigilantes, and they get in the cage and get smacked up by Roy Nelson. So you never know, but that's taking nothing away from Romeo Beltran. We'll find that out next Saturday.
You got a cool ass name though, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a fighter name for sure, or a rapper name. I guess you could be a rapper too. We move on from there. We go to the 185 middleweight division. Big fight there. Sean Foster, Combat Fitness Rapicon, taking out Albino Lopez, 0-1, Napa Fight Sports. Now, he's from in Napa. This is his hometown.
Shit, both of those dudes are from Napa.
There you go.
Both
So
of them are, yeah.
Napa versus Napa, nobody will be on enemy ground. That's going to be a big crowd favorite fight right there.
It is. You know, it's Sean. Actually, I know Sean personally. He goes to the church that I go to up in Napa.
Yeah,
that's how small.
Steve Barnett, you go to church?
I know.
Oh my gosh! How many times have you been struck by lightning in the last year?
Dude.
A lot. I figured.
Yeah,
okay.
I get hit in the head more. But I know Sean personally. It's like, you know, this is his first fight. You know, he's went through some personal changes in his life, and he just said, "Fuck it, I'm going to go fight." And he's stepping up. You know, Albino Lopez, I know that guy too. He trains at the gym across the parking lot from me. Now
nice.
He's one of Adam Walmsley's guys. So
Adam Walmsley's a great fighter as well.
Motherfucker's tough as fuck.
Yeah.
You know, so I have a feeling. I think Sean's nerves are getting to him right now because he's having a little bit of trouble cutting weight. So we're doing a little bit of a catch weight on those two.
Okay.
You know, nerves are a
So we won't see 185. We're going to see a catch weight somewhere around 190 maybe?
Probably 190.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, first fights, it's the worst.
Yeah.
You know, it is.
As we talked about, the adrenaline dump, all that.
Oh,
Now,
yeah.
we move on from there. We stay in the middleweight division. Now, I've been seeing a lot of this sweat MMA. I do a lot of shows around California, Nevada, and I see a lot of this sweat MMA.
Yep.
This guy, Andre Ballouni, coming out. He's 0-0, but he's from this fight team. Now, you look on the other side, and you see Alexander Griffin. There's out of Marinobles. Now, when you think Griffin and Marinobles, you think Max Payne Griffin.
That's his brother.
That's his brother. That's right. So what people don't know is that Max will be at this fight, probably in his corner, you know, and so that's a big thing for Bay Area Combat. You got Max Payne Griffin, the King of Sacramento, also UFC rostered fighter. His little brother's going to be there fighting. Marinobles versus Sweat. Who do you got in this one?
Shit, you know what? Max is Alex is he's a quiet ass dude. You know what? Motherfucker's probably a fucking secret assassin. you know what I mean? I don't know. Sweat MMA has been producing some really freaking tough ass dudes too. I mean, you know, you were at that fight last weekend that they had the state championship.
Absolutely.
Their guy went the distance, unanimous decision loss, but he went the distance with the top ranked guy in California heavyweight.
See, and that's and we're going to talk about this a little bit later on as we go through this card, because we're going to get more in depth as we move up this card, guys. If you're just listening, when we start talking about these main events, these title fights, we're going to get more in depth about these fighters, their records, and why we think people are going to win. But as we talk about these guys that are 0-1, 0-2, or 1-1, the fights that they've had, Steve, have been great fights. Like, so we're going to move on next to Christopher Fernandez, who we just talked about. Now you look at his record, 0-1. But we just talked about that fight with Perales.
That was almost a fight of the night.
Either one of those guys could have won that fight. So, yeah, he may have lost that fight, but that was a war. So when you see Christopher Fernandez's record, don't think this guy can't fight, because I can tell you right now, this guy can fight.
Yeah, he's a stud, you know. Yeah, and Vincent's coming from he's one of Cody's Sons' guys. He's actually traveling all the way up from down south,
Bakersfield.
Yep, just to come up and fight. You know, mad respect, Cody. You know, Cody's one of my boys. You know, he produces some guys that will fight.
And that's because Cody will fight. Anybody, anywhere. That guy's got, I'm going to tell you, and this is getting off topic for a second, but because you brought up Cody's Sons, he's about to fight this guy, Domingo Cuero, down south, and it's on the Indian reservation. Domingo Cuero he lives on the reservation. He's like the folk hero around there.
Right.
And Cody's going to walk right onto that Indian reservation and fight this guy.
Not giving a fuck.
Yeah. So if it's a Cody Sons fighter, you know he's down to fight, and he's down to fight anybody, anywhere, anytime. So it's going to be awesome. That's going to be a good fight. And he's taking on Vincent Gomez, right?
Yes. It's Vince's first fight.
Hammer down fight team.
Yeah, I can't find anything online about it, so I'm pretty sure this is absolutely his first fight.
Right.
You know,
so we won't know much until we get there on Saturday.
Yeah.
And you guys won't know unless you come Saturday, February 23rd, Napa Valley Expo. You guys want to check that out. Now, this next fight, let's get into this one a little bit. Now, explain to me why this next fight between Hack Coling and Jacob McCart is such a big fight.
Well, you know, Hacks only had one fight on his Camel record,
right?
And he's already ranked 15. He had an absolute slugfest on his prior with Corey Vale. Unbelievable fight. These guys slugged it out.
Yeah,
it's I can't believe either one of them didn't go to sleep. I mean, it was a savage fight, and so Jacob McCart, he's Corey Vale's teammate. He wants to seek some revenge.
Right.
He's kind of a you would not think of him as a fighter if you sat there and talked to him. He's a pleasant kind of spoken guy.
Right.
That motherfucker, he'll come at you and he'll start swinging hard. He's a strong ass dude. He's got a little bit of jiu-jitsu. He's one of Adam Wamsley's guys. And
we already know Hack can slang him, so it's going to be a big fight.
Oh, yeah.
And they don't like each other.
I think that there's a little bit of personal heat there. You know what I'm saying? So I think that I think it's going to be a good one.
And you know what? Bad blood in an MMA fight or any combat sporting event is always good. As long as it doesn't go over the top and we don't get John Jones throwing people through step and repeat banners, but at least the bad blood will bring that extra edge to that fight. And people, even if you don't know who Hack Cooley and Jacob McCart are, you may get invested in this fight simply because they don't like each other.
Yeah, the best thing I like about grudge matches is I've actually had grudge matches set up to go fight in a Gladiator Challenge a while back. The best part is it's not on the streets, and they're going to go home to their families. No bullshit outside the cage usually, and it's handled properly as far as I'm concerned. I'm kind of old school. What's
a good thing about Bay Area Combat? You usually bring that up. I do so many shows, Steve. Like I do 50, 60 shows a year. And there's been so many issues at different shows. And this is taking nothing away from guys that I work for that have had issues at their shows. But Bay Area Combat has had no issues, no crowd issues, no riot issues. In fact, the biggest issue was me arguing with a coach and calling each other out.
That was some funny ass shit though, because I know I caught the whole thing. It was just a miscommunication.
It was, and me and Tracy have made up. Tracy skates over at Marinobles, and the guy trains a lot of my friends, Max Griffin and those guys. And so we had it out, and then we saw each other at a gun show and everything. Listen, Tracy's a great guy. He's a great coach, but it was just heat of the moment, and that's what happens at these kind of things because people get so invested in these fights.
Hell yeah, because it's like these fighters are. Julius, his fighter that we were talking about at the time in this situation
Julius,
in the cage,
who we'll talk about later on. Yeah.
Holy shit! That was like, man, I'm glad it was worked out because Tracy Scatz has got some really tough guys. He's a great coach. I've actually went up there and trained with them. I have nothing but respect for those guys.
Absolutely.
They're a great team.
And speaking of great teams, we move on to fight number 7, the bantamweight division, which is hot and heavy in California. I mean, you see bantamweight fights all over the place, but these guys, Manuel Rodriguez, who I don't know much about, but he comes out of Ultimate Fitness, which means he's training with Uriah. He's training with those guys down there. But Edwin De Los Santos, as you talk about good teams, smash fighter in the Muay Thai world is just a huge brand. And even in the MMA world, Rudy Ott does so many good things with those guys at smash fighters. So you got an Ultimate Fitness guy and you got Edwin De Los Santos, who I've seen fight before. He's 1-0. What do you think of this one?
You know what? Manuel's, he's got some kickboxing and stuff. He's coming from out of state. And, he doesn't represent Team Alpha Male, but he still trains at Uriah's club. I think this might be a really, really good fight. The kid Manuel carries himself just right. I mean, I think it's going to be a fight. I mean, like a real fight. I always love having Rudy's guys in my gym, in my shows and stuff, because they are always some of the best fights of the
Absolutely.
night.
And now, like you just said, Manny had a background in kickboxing. Well, obviously, De Los Santos does too because he trains with Rudy Ott. So we're going to see a slugfest, hopefully. You mentioned, I want to get this out there because people get confused about Ultimate Fitness versus Team Alpha Male. They get confused about Scrap Pack versus Cesar Gracie. So let me just explain. So although these guys come out in their Ultimate Fitness, they're training with the same guys. They're just not up to that level yet where they're fighting pro and they're representing Team Alpha Male. Or like when I train with Nick and Nate for quite some time. My little cousin Darren trains over there as well. And like I train with those guys every night. But I'm not Scrap Pack. But I'm training with the Scrap Pack. You know what I'm saying? So people say, oh, he's only Ultimate Fitness. He's not Team Alpha Male. Well, guess what? He's rolling with those same guys that the Team Alpha Male guys are rolling with. So obviously he's ready to fight.
Yeah, absolutely. I see people not really understanding that at all. It's like you have to be invited to fight on the fight team itself. Sometimes those guys take notice to their to the amateurs coming up real quick. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they make them earn their spot big time before they get invited.
And you can't just, I mean, it's his first fight, so who knows what could happen. But I had Uriah at the last show, and he's like, okay, this guy's Team Alpha Male, this guy's Ultimate Fitness, this guy's Team, you know what I mean? He wanted to make sure that the guys that were Alpha Male got represented as Alpha Male and vice versa. So now we're going to move down. Now, U.S. Granite is sponsoring these next few fights. Tell us about U.S. Granite, first of all.
So U.S. Granite is a provider of granite countertops and stuff like that. Okay. Probably one of the bigger providers in the Sacramento area.
And they've jumped on board with Bay Area Combat?
Absolutely. They wanted to come in and be our main sponsor for this bout, because this bout's actually a special bout. Okay, something that I haven't really put out there too much is that it's basically fight number 8. It's a state title elimination match. So whichever girl wins this fight actually is allowed to go fight for the state title fight.
Right. So it's basically a number 1 contenders fight.
Basically,
state eliminator, so whoever wins gets that title shot.
Right. So Elena and Valerie are some of the few girls out there that are fighting at this weight, because there's so few of them out there. I think there's 2 other girls in the Northern California. You got,
fighting at 115.
Yeah, you got a Shaughnessy, and then you got Lena Hampton.
Yeah, McVeigh, right? Yeah.
McVeigh, and then you got and it's like there's just so few of them out there.
By the way, Shaughnessy McVeigh is a beast.
Dude, she is
a beast. I'm scared of that girl.
Yeah, it's like she's got hands.
Yeah.
She's got hands.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, I'm impressed. They've produced a mean fighter there.
Dave Terrell, yep. Also, Scrap Pack guy.
Yeah.
So Valerie Thurs has unfortunately had some injuries recently, and she's gotten better from them now.
Right.
But that kind of stalled her for a second. We saw her on the last Bay Area Combat. Great fight. I don't know that I've seen Pajamula fight. I could have, but it's not ringing a bell right now. So.
Well, she comes from a really good pedigree school, Victory MMA.
Right.
And it's like something that, I've talked to her coach and stuff, and he's like, all my girls come out and fight. They come out to win a fight. Whether it be knocking you out or choking you out, they're going to try to beat the life out of you.
Right.
Which I like that.
And it may not be a title fight Saturday, but it has title fight implications.
Absolutely.
So they're going to fight it like a title fight.
I want to say a shout out to David Dankin. Thanks a lot, because it's I've been.
David Dankin.
Oh yeah, hey, he's been working really tough with us, because we've been trying to work the Northern California and the Southern California fights, because it seems like I'm the only promoter and Deborah's are the only ones that are bringing these fighters up from down south, or possibility bringing fighters down south. We're the only ones. No one wants to pay travel. No one wants to do this stuff.
Because when you get these AMI fights, people don't want to put the money out. Now, I say that about David. David's one of my close friends. I love David. I love Jackie. They just lost their father, Marty, who is a legend in combat sports. And David is always trying to make things happen. Whenever I'm talking to him, he's always like, what can I do to help this? What can I do to help this? What can I get you this? So if you guys have David Dankin, and then you two, Steve and Deborah, obviously we're going to get some good SoCal versus NorCal fights, and I can't wait to see that happen.
Yeah, so we'll touch more onto that further down on our fight card here.
And as we move down the fight card, now this is a fight I want to talk about. I'm going to tell you why. Terrence Saturn, 2-0, back-to-back TKOs in the second round. Okay, undefeated. He's a beast. He's got hands. He will hurt you if he has to. Nobody MMA, a great team. And you look at the other side of the card and you see Gavin Sheehan, and it says 1-3, and he's fighting this monster. But let's talk about this 1-3, because there's 1-3 and then there's 1-3. He's lost 2 fights to Mike Tubera. Mike Tubera is probably,
I think he's highly ranked in California.
In my opinion, Mike Tubera could very well be the best 125er to ever come out of California. I've seen this guy fight from the very beginning. He's got a choke named after him, the Tubera choke. This kid can flat out go. So 2 losses to Mike Tubera is not something that should make your record look bad. You fought Mike Tubera. He also fought Aaron Hunter, who is also an amazing fighter, and lost to Aaron Hunter. So, yes, he's 1-3, but those 3 fights were against monster competition. So do not take Gavin's 1-3 against Terrence's 2-0 and think that this is not going to be a good fight, because this is going to be a barn burner for sure.
Yeah, because, those guys are just animals. So
Mike and Vic Tubera.
Mike's ranked number 5 in California right now.
And that's, listen to this. Yeah. Mike Tubera had a really bad vehicle accident he was supposed to never walk again. And he's still ranked number 5 in California because he's an absolute beast. So Gavin Sheehan is a monster. He's fought monster competition. Deborah Farolito just broke something over here in the studio. She's the producer and, of course, one of the promoters. But I'm looking forward to this fight, Steve, because I love watching Terrence fight. I really can't wait to see what Gavin does, because he's probably got a little chip on his shoulder. Like, look, I keep fighting these really good guys and I'm just barely missing. It's my time to shine, Yeah,
absolutely. It's like I think it's going to be a slugfest. I think it is. One of them's going to drop.
Absolutely. It's gonna be a good fight. That's one of the fights. If you guys, when you look at this card, you look at Masloff, Bigelow, you look at Wright, you look at Bueno, but I look at Saturn and Sheehan, and I want to see that fight, just like Thurs and her opponent, Pajamula. But we move down the card now. I'm going to let you do this, Steve. This is what I want to. All day I've been waiting to make you do this. Tell me who's fighting in the next fight, Steve Barnett.
The next fight? Then,
yep.
Let's see, Osimhen and Casey. I can't pronounce Osimhen's last name, but I'll tell you what. Yeah, he's got a long last name. So Osimhen's out of
Team Salguera.
Salguera, yeah. So he's got hands. He's a big, tall kid. Casey's he's 0-1, but he's a Dragon House guy. But you know, Zhang has some tough ass dudes. They all got wrestling. They all got hands, and they're willing to fight. You know, Sergio produces some really tough ass dudes that will come and slug it out. I mean, a good old school fist fight. It might even be the best slobber knocker that night. Who knows?
Absolutely. You know, there's so many fights on here, Steve, that even if you took out the main event and the co-main event and just had these 11 fights, you would still have an amazing card. Period. Moving down, number 11. Now, this is right before we move into our co-main event and our main event. So this is basically, you know, the big fight before the main event. My buddy, Isaiah Perales, and I say he's my buddy. I'm not being biased. I like the kid. I like him a lot. He's 2-1 out of Rapicon's Asylum Fight Team. He's fresh off of a win in December, unanimous decision over Chris Fernandez, who will fight earlier on in the card. And he's taking on Temujin Olzi Orshik, who's 1-1 out of Graham Ambition. What do you know about Orshik?
Well, you know, I was really, I'll tell you what, I am so impressed with that guy. He is scrappy as fuck.
Yeah.
He fights just like Isaiah. Stand in front of you, scrap it out. And just, they're going to get
another slugfest.
Dude, they're going to fight it out. You know, it's like they probably won't end up on the ground, maybe just enough to get back up.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's the kind of fight that the crowd loves. It's the kind of fights I like seeing. I like to see a good fist fight. You know, whether you end up on the ground, fight it out, get back up, fight it out. Yeah. End up on the ground, whatever, submit, whatever. These guys are going to fight.
So you look at fight 6, calling him the cart. We know that's going to be a slugfest.
Absolutely.
You look at fight 7, you got 2 kickboxers. You know that's going to be a slugfest. You know Valerie Thurs is going to throw hands with Pajamula. You know Terrence Saturn can throw hands. He's got 2 technical knockouts, a KO. Gavin Sheehan's ready to fight. And so if you look at all the fights leading up from 6 down to 11, Perales and Orshik, you know it's going to be slugfest. So the crowd is going to be at a fever pitch from all these guys just banging in the cage. And girls, Valerie Thurs. Women, I'm sorry, Leslie Smith, my co-host on the last round, gets mad when I say girls.
Yeah, ladies.
Kiss my ass.
Hey, so you know something back about fight number 8. So Valerie had her debut fight with, not debut, but with her first fight with Barry Combat at the last show. She actually made a 3-round decision loss to Heather Smith,
who's a beast.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Heather's a blue belt. She's been training for years, and she couldn't finish her. Absolutely could not finish her. Valerie got out of everything that Heather threw at her, and Valerie hit her so many times. I couldn't even imagine getting hit that many times. I probably would have a headache. So
Valerie can dish out. Plus, she could take it. She was getting hit too. Both of these girls were just women. Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
See, she got Leslie Smith has me like trained. I hate it. When I'm with her, I have to eat fruit and vegetables and drink like water. I'm drinking this, Leslie. And I have to say women. All right, so now we've got all that out of the way. U.S. Granite sponsored those last 4 fights. We've got our first 11 fights. Now we move on to the co-main event. And this is going to be an amazing fight. Unanimous decision win over Aaron Graff. Ian Masloff is 4-1. That was back in October. He stayed very busy. He fought August and he fought October. He beat Cesar Hernandez in August as well. And that was a knockout. So a unanimous decision and a knockout. Stayed very busy in 2018. 2 wins in a row. And you step over to the other side. Masloff, a smash fight team, by the way, another Rudy Ott fighter. Diego Bigelow, Mara Nobles, we talked about them earlier. Max Payne, Griffin, all the guys that come out of there. He is 1-1 in his last 2. And he has a win over Samuel James in his last fight. So Diego Bigelow has a little bit to prove with the 1-1, but he's coming out of a great team. He's taken on Ian Masloff, who is just a monster. 2 wins in a row. Who do you have in this fight, Steve? Tell me how you see this one going.
Well, you know what? Ian's an absolute monster. I mean, I don't even know. Because Ian's coming from Smash Gym. And it's like, the thing is, with those guys, they're Smash Gym. Rudy covers every basis.
Absolutely.
You know, I go down there and train with him once in a while, and those guys, shit, Ian's tapped me out. I'm no slouch.
Yeah.
I'm no slouch. He's tapped me out. Yeah, I lay out people with my big fat belly. But no, Ian's a badass dude, you know, and it's like, and I have a fortunate opportunity to train with Diego before at Marinobles.
Okay.
So something, you know, that I try to do to make sure that my matchups are solid. I try to train with everybody, match them up accordingly.
Right.
You know, I only had a couple other people that would have been impossible matchups for either one of these guys, but this matchup came too. You know, it came solid, and these guys.
By the way, this could be the main event. Like, there's no question. If we didn't have Julius and Bueno, which, by the way, is probably one of the biggest fights in California history, Bigelow and Masloff could lead this card, and it would still sell out.
You know, yeah. You know, I'm really proud to say, honestly, the hard work that I put in, that I was actually able to get these two guys on my card.
Yeah.
They both are deserving. You know, Ian's got a 4-1 record, and Diego's 2-3.
Right.
You know, I know that Diego's had fought two of those guys on his record. He fought the same guy twice.
Right.
That's just, people need to get over that, because it's like, you know what? They're both absolute, you know, they're wars.
Yeah.
They're absolute
and
wars.
these are AMI records.
Yeah.
So it's these guys are still finding their footing. They're still learning. You may see a completely different fighter from October to December, because they might roll with someone else. They might train with someone else. They might learn something else. I got a new boxing coach. I changed my diet. I'm running more. You know what I mean? And you might just get a completely different fighter in there.
So, you know, it's like, I know these guys have absolutely been putting in a lot of time for these fights. Because, you know, these are big fights for these guys.
Title on the line, Barry, a combat championship.
Absolutely. You know, it's something that's like, something that I try to do different than a lot of the promotions, not trying to talk bad about anybody, but all my title fights have to have a winning fight record, and they have to have over 3 fights on their record. So if you're fighting for a title and you only have 3 fights, that means you're on a 3-fight win streak.
Right.
You know, I get guys hitting me up all the time, let me fight for your title. You know, I'm a tough dude. I've only fought tough dudes. Well, guess what? That don't do you any good unless you have a winning fight record, because you know what? I won't devalue my title fights at all.
And speaking of the title, it's the 145. It's the featherweight title, Barry Combat. Is this title vacant right now? Do one of these guys have this title?
Neither one of them do.
So it's vacant title?
Yeah, this is the
inaugural.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
So there you go, guys. You want to come out February 23rd. It's this Saturday, Napa Valley Expo. You don't want to miss it. Featherweight title on the line. Ian Masloff, Diego Bigelow is going to be a great fight. And guess what? That's not even the big news, because after that fight, 2 guys who are arguably the 2 best lightweights right now in California are going to battle it out, not for 1, but for 2 belts.
Absolutely.
So explain that to us. We had the Bay Area Combat lightweight title on the line. Now I understand there's another belt on the line.
So, you know, like I was saying earlier, it's like I've been building a good rapport with Dave Dakin. So we've actually tried to work some things out about getting Northern California fighters and Southern California fighters to fight each other, because it exposes other fighters to better and other styles of fights and stuff like that. So what happened was that title, the 155 state title, was vacant. And so I talked to David about it, and I said, hey, both these guys are ranked, you know. I think, you know, both of those guys are ranked. I mean, like, let me take a look real quick here. But
well, this is Camo right here. So Michael Bueno's ranked
there you
8th,
go.
And Julius Wright's ranked
13.
13.
So there you go.
Yeah.
And that might even be updated now, because I think that he was 13 before he beat Salosorio. So he may even be higher. We probably have 2 top 10 fighters right here fighting for this belt.
Absolutely.
And it's hard. And people will say, well, why isn't 1 and 2 fighting for the belt? I'll tell you why. It's so hard. 1 and 2 may not even be AMIs anymore.
Right.
1 may not even be able to fight right now. You can't get them like that. To get 2 top 10 fighters in any weight class in California on the same card is huge. Yeah. For you to pull this off is huge. I mean it. It really is.
Yeah, so you know, so we're trying to get the most coverage for these fighters too. It's like Julie's on Tapology is ranked number 10 in California under Tapology, and that includes some unsanctioned events and stuff like that. So which incorporates more fights
than just Camo. Yeah, because you're looking at a Camo ranking. So these guys are fighting other places. They're fighting, and they may even fight in other states. You know. So, but let's talk about these 2 guys. I want to start with Julius Wright. I'm gonna tell you why, because that's my boy. I love Julius Wright. So this last show we saw him fight Salosorio. But let's talk a little bit about, because we got some time here. People, I don't care if you don't want to hear us. We're going to talk anyway. Leading up to that fight, There was so many matches that were set up that got canceled. Julius was having a baby. Julius wasn't having, his girl was having a baby. Julius was having a child, and he had to pull off the fight. Sal was upset, thought it was an excuse. Mara Nobles was upset. The whole team, they thought it was an excuse. Julius was trying to explain, no, I want to fight you. So leading up to this, we had some big, as we talked a little bit earlier on, the brouhaha in the cage and the miscommunication between me and Tracy. But either way, the fight finally happens. And I'm going to tell you something. Everybody there that I talked to thought Sal Osorio was going to win that fight. Yeah. I bet Phil Flathers $50 that Julius Wright was going to win that fight. No offense
did Phil pay you?
to Sal. He paid me right away when the fight was over. Right away. Phil. And that's not Phil saying that Sal's not a great fighter, because he loves Sal, and I love Sal. I just felt like Julius had so much to prove in that fight, Steve, because so many people were saying he was ducking Sal. He didn't want to fight Sal, and he said, you know what? I'm going to show up, and I'm going to win this fucking fight, and no one's going to stop me.
So I think we're probably the only ones that really knew the backstory about why Julius couldn't fight.
Right.
It's like most fight fans don't realize, you know, the ins and outs of, like, you know, personal issues and stuff like that. Sal really wanted that fight too.
Yeah,
absolutely wanted that fight. You know, it was a good setup. And plus, there were some unfortunate circumstances why they didn't fight at where was it? Up in Sacramento.
Panda Cup.
Yeah. There were some unfortunate circumstances.
Right.
So we were able to hold that fight at my show.
Yeah.
But that didn't happen because of Julius's pregnancy issues.
And so Sal ended up fighting.
Who was it?
I can't remember, but he won the fight. And then, what's that?
Did he fight
Michael Bueno. He fought Bueno. So he fought Bueno, who's fighting Julius right now. He wins the fight. He calls Julius into the cage. Exact quote was, "You better fucking show up," right? And so Julius said, "I'm going to show up," and then and all hell broke loose.
No, Julius. No. Oh my goodness. Let's see. I wish my brain didn't, totally fry like that.
I don't think it was.
It wasn't Michael Bueno.
No, it wasn't.
No, it was Ray Lopez.
No,
was it?
No. Michael Bueno fought Raymond Lopez.
That's right. You see, you guys got me all screwed up now.
I know, huh?
I'm gonna fix this right now.
Sal fought Anthony Beal.
That's who it was. Beal.
Beal.
Yeah.
And so he knocked him out. I think it was in the first round.
Yep.
So Anthony Beal's. He's another one of those fighters that's absolutely.
He's up in that talk of the top 10.
He's bad as fuck.
Yeah.
You know.
So, but what I wanted to say, so the reason that I thought Julius would win this fight, let's go back to Japan. Back in the 90s, there's a guy named Buster Douglas who fought Mike Tyson, and nobody gave Buster Douglas a shot. What people didn't know, and what people didn't find out till later on, was his mom died a week before the fight. His wife left him. He had nothing to lose. The thing that Mike Tyson had over everyone back then was that people were afraid he was going to kill him. Like, this guy could kill me in the ring. Buster Douglas didn't care. He didn't care if he died. He didn't care what Mike Tyson did to him. His mom was gone. His wife was gone. I'm just going to fight this motherfucker. And he beat him. And everybody flipped out because there's so much going on in a fighter's head. So for Julius, he was like, this guy's running all over Facebook saying, I'm not ready to fight him. I'm scared of him. I just had a baby. I'm on top of the world. I'm just going to fight this guy and beat him. So will that be the same Julius Wright that shows up?
I hope so.
To fight Michael Bueno. By the way, the fight happens. Julius Wright wins. Unanimous decision. He's on a 2-fight win streak. And then you go over to Bueno, 4-2. He's out of El Nino. He is coming off 2 first-round KOs. Now, that's not the special part. 2 first-round KOs, right, in his last 2 fights. A total of 26 seconds in the cage.
Amazing. So the first KO at my show was against one of the Russian guys from AKA.
Right.
Caught him with a clean.
Tahid Safi.
Yeah, that was a badass fight.
Yeah.
That kid, he was rolling for all kinds of leg locks and stuff, a little bit of illegal leg locks and stuff. But hey, the dude he was bad. I was like so impressed with his skill set on the ground. I was thinking, oh shit, he's going to catch him with a leg submission.
Right.
But all of a sudden he comes out second round, clips him, drops him to the ground.
Yep.
The cleanest uppercut I've ever seen in my life. Absolutely beautiful.
And that ended up being a long night for him because the next fight I think was 4 seconds.
Oh yeah, that was
Ray Lopez.
That was against one of my guys from Napa Valley MMA. And it's like, Raymond's a tough ass dude. He's another one of those fighters that's just he's as tough as nails, and he got caught. Absolutely.
And what it comes down to is Michael Bueno throws sledgehammers in the cage.
Absolutely.
And if you get hit by one, you're going to feel it, and you're probably going to go to sleep.
Neither one of those guys saw those punches coming.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, they're out.
fast and powerful.
Right.
And the other thing that people need to know about Michael Bueno, yeah, he's got 2 knockout wins. He's also got 2 submission victories. So the kid can throw hands like a truck, and he can grapple.
So
that's a scary combination.
Absolutely. Michael does those fight to wins.
Absolutely,
all
yeah.
the time.
Yeah.
So he's always out in front of a crowd grappling and
Right.
stuff. The dude's he's slick. I've grappled with him. Unbelievable. He's got such flow on the ground. He trains at John Santos, Santos Jiu-Jitsu over there in down there in was it Dublin area? Or
right.
Santa Ramona, I mean.
East Bay.
Yeah, he's got a really solid camp. He's got Joe Cropshot out of there. He's got South.
Cropscott. Don't say that wrong. He'll yell at you. He yells at me all the time.
He'll just tap me out next time we roll.
Yeah. So here's a fight where you've got on one side you've got Michael Bueno, fight to win. He's a grappler, but he can knock you out quickly, very quickly. 26 seconds in his last 2 fights total. And then you got Julius Wright, who can take a shot, stays in the pocket, keeps his feet moving. He's got good head movement. He'll throw shots back at you, and he won't give up. He's got a ton of heart. Which way do the scales tip?
That is the big question. It's like, and there's 2 title fights, 2 belts up for grabs. This is going to be unbelievable. One of those guys is going to die in that fight to get those belts.
And there's 2 titles on the line, but there's 3 titles between them because Bueno, I believe, is also the Panda Cup champion. And I actually went on.
Julius is
the Panda Cup champion, and I actually went on and said, "Hey, let's do all 3 titles because you know what? Because you can't unify titles anymore. It's so fucking hard because this guy doesn't want to fight this guy and this guy. But now here you've got arguably the 2 best lightweights in California about to do battle, and there's more belts. I say put them all on the line.
So there's something else. It's something about this matchup also. Whoever wins this fight wins.
I'm getting excited.
They win the Bay Area Combat Belt
and
the state title fight. But whoever wins the state title fight, whether the defense of the belt is up in Northern California or Southern California, they're going to have to travel. So whoever travels, is the Panda Cup belt.
And I say they do it at No Prisoners MMA because I do that show in SoCal, so that's where we should do it. I want to announce that fight. Listen. First of all, I want to apologize to the viewers at home because I look like a dirtbag today. I was playing competitive Fortnite all weekend because I don't fight anymore, so now I just kill people on Fortnite. So I didn't shave. I look like Steve Barnett right now.
Yeah, right. I like the sweater though, very common.
This is actually my sweater's stinky from Fortnite, so I had to wear the T-shirt over a different hoodie, but it worked out. Okay, guys, so let's just run this down one more time. Clark Bonsat, Beltran Jacinto, Foster Lopez, Balloony Griffin, Gomez Fernandez, Coling McCart, which is a grudge match. Rodriguez de los Santos, 2 kickboxers are going to get it on. Pajamula and Thurs, that's right, women's MMA. Everybody loves it. Yep. You got 2 good fighters in there. Terrence Saturn, 2-0, 2 knockouts. Gavin Sheehan, who has fought some of the best competition in California, is ready to prove that he's on that level. You've got Oya Mahonlan against Ishun. That's going to be a good fight. And then, of course, Perales or Sheik, we talked about that. That's going to be a great fight, slugfest. Masloff Bigelow could be a main event anywhere in California. Yeah. And then the big one, Bueno and Julius Wright. Yep. And all those belts on the line, man.
Absolutely.
It's going to be a great show.
Yeah. Hey, I hope, it's like I do, matchmaking is the hardest thing about doing.
100%.
It's like that's why each promotion has a specific matchmaker. And then the supporting staff, which is my right-hand person, Deborah.
She's here, by the way, in the studio. She's producing this. She has a microphone. She just doesn't say anything.
So I couldn't do this without Deborah's help because, she handles the business end of this, contracts and all this stuff. Because I'm so focused on doing these matchups. It's like,
And not to interrupt, but there's so many moving parts with matchmaking. Oh. First, you have to find, let me just tell everyone at home what's happening with this matchmaking. First, you have to find 2 guys that should fight each other. Right? They should fight each other. This guy's this and this guy's this. They should fight each other. Now, you've got to get both guys to agree to fight each other. Then you have to convince the coaches that they should fight each other. Then you have to agree on a weight. Then you have to agree on time limit. All this stuff, right? Then you have to babysit them both for the next 3 months to make sure they don't drop off the card and there's no reason why they can't show up. So your job is absolutely ridiculous, and I would never do it for all the money in the world.
You know what? I kind of actually enjoy this because, it's like I know all the fighters out there. I know all the fight camps. I train. I'm also a fighter. I know how it is. I've only had a couple real big issues with a couple fighters. you know, Ishel Burtis dropped out. He was supposed to fight somebody, dropped out, faced the earth. And so, I don't want to burn bridges with my coaching. I'm like,
Right.
whatever, dude. I've had
I have a hangnail. I can't fight Saturday.
it's like my vagina got a little bit inflamed the other night. I've got
These views are the views of Steve Barnett and not
Yeah.
Bay Area Combat.
absolutely. So it's like, you know, it's me personally. You know, I've had a couple guys just absolutely. What is it? Gabriel Villasenor, shit talking little bitch. Check this out. You know, I've had these guys. You set them up a matchup, and then they diss his fucking peer.
Yeah.
Like, you know, then well,
Listen. It's you know why? It's social media.
Oh,
When
yeah.
you and I fought, when we fought back in the day, like I'll never forget. I fought Mark Hall's Cobra qualifier in LA. He called me Thursday and he said, "You want to fight Saturday?" And I said, "Yeah." He didn't tell me how much money, who I was fighting, what weight I was fighting. I just got in a fucking car. I drove down there and I fought whoever I lost. He told me to fight whoever I fought, and I fought. But nowadays, and I get it, it is smarter to say, hey, let me look at this guy. But listen, you'll never be the best until you beat everyone.
Absolutely.
To be the best in the 155 division, you have to beat all the best 155 fighters.
Yep.
Otherwise, you're not the best. You're just telling people you're the best.
Yeah, you know, it's easy to do that shit.
Yeah,
You know?
and social media now, you get a Bay Area Combat beanie, you get a Bay Area Combat t-shirt, you get a tap-out shirt, and then you walk around and you tell everyone, oh yeah, I'm fighting in February. I'm fighting in February. When you know you're never going to fight in February, but you just want to tell people you're going to fight in February because it looks cool and you might get some girls.
Yeah.
But then oh, shit, I blew out my knee, bro. I can't fight. Maybe next year. Right? And that's what social media has done. It's created people who are creating lives that don't actually exist, and they're trying to convey them. And it gives people like you a tougher job.
Yeah, you know, it's like I can't stand that. You know, it's all about be the fight. Be about it or don't talk about it.
Right.
You know, and it's like it does make it really, really incredibly hard. You know, something like some of these guys, some of these coaches out there that I have mad respect for. Rudy Ott's club.
Absolutely.
Zheng Lao. It's like, you know, if they say their guys
Tracy and Dave Marinoble.
Marinobles, you know, it's not about negotiations. It's about fuck. You want to fight? Be a fight.
Right. And so there's a lot of people that don't fight, but the good news is there's 26 people right here that are going to fight, and they're going to fight this Saturday in Napa at the Napa Valley Expo for Bay Area Combat 4.
Yep.
Bay Area Combat 4, it's called Face Off, right?
Yep.
We got the commercial out. You guys need to check that out on Facebook. Go to the Bay Area Combat Facebook. You're probably already there if you're watching this, by the way. There's a YouTube channel you guys are going to check out. I think we're going to get this cleaned up a little bit, throw it up on YouTube so that everybody can see it. We're going to try to do these before every show, right?
Yeah, we are.
So it is on YouTube. If
Okay.
you're watching, please subscribe to the channel, and it will be after we're done here. I'll put it on Facebook.
There you go. So there you go.
So I want to tell everybody a little bit of history. So I know Jim Cooley because Jim, you know, I've been a part of another promotion called Cage Combat Fighting Championships. This is probably
That's what it's called. I couldn't
Cage
remember.
Combat Fighting
Yeah.
Championships. So that's how I know Jim. So we've actually gone back. Oh shit, quite a few years
Yeah.
now. And Jim and I have been involved in the fight game a long ass time. I think
Too long.
This is going to be like my 39th event that I've helped run and produce.
Nice.
This is Deborah and mine's fourth show under our new promotion brand.
Absolutely.
And so it's like, you know, it's not my first time. It's not going to be my last. This, you know, so that's where I've got a lot of my experience.
Yeah.
That's where I've gotten, you know, I've fought a bunch of times. I've fought in the gym. I fought outside the gym. I've got
Just recently, some guy was trolling you on Facebook, and you called him out to come fight you in the gym. And to his credit, the guy actually showed up. He got his ass kicked, but he showed up and he actually fought you, and you went Facebook Live on the fight. I thought that was hilarious, by the way.
You know, hey, mad respect for the guy because you know what? The one thing is, he showed up.
Yeah, and that, you know what? And that's really all that matters to me.
Yeah.
I didn't care who won the fight after that. You guys both showed up and you fought, and that's all that mattered to me.
The best thing is he apologized for calling me a fucking idiot.
Well, I mean, Steve, come on, man. You can't fault the guy for pointing things out.
Right.
All right. Listen, no, and I've been around this business since 97. You know, my first fight was in 98 as a judge, as a ring announcer, commentator, play-by-play guy. And I love working for you guys. I really do. And I'm not just saying that because I'm on this show, but I pick and choose who I do things for. If this was some other company, I wouldn't have just drove 2 hours to come down here and help you guys out. Yeah. And I did because I believe in the show. And because honestly, a lot of my friends are on the show, and this is going to be a great fucking show, dude. Yeah. It really is. You guys got to come out. The main events, you got to combine 16 wins between the 4 guys that are fighting in the 2 co-main events. And that's going to be huge. A total of 3 titles on the line. You got the women's fight. You got all this stuff. You guys got to come out, man. Napa Valley Expo. Check out the Facebook and all that, and make sure that you guys are becoming a part of this movement, because like I said, Bay Area Combat is not just Bay Area Combat. They've had a Panda Cup title on their show. They're out. I see these guys, Deborah and Steve, at all these other shows because they want to learn from other shows. They want to see what other people are doing. They want to find the best fighters. They want to scout the best matches and then bring them to Bay Area Combat Napa. And by the way, the Napa crowd is insane. So you guys got to come out and check it out. It's going to be a good show.
Remember, pinkies up. It's Napa.
So February 23rd, guys, it is Saturday, Napa Valley Expo, Bay Area Combat 4. It is face-off. You guys don't want to miss it. Julius Wright, Michael Bueno in the main event. 2 titles on the line. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to the Facebook. Get your fucking tickets for the show. It's going to be a great show. I'm going to be there. That's all that really matters. We'll see you guys this Saturday, February 23rd, Napa Valley Expo, Steve.
Yep. Thanks a
There
lot,
you go.
Jim. I appreciate all your hard work, and we will see you next Saturday.
Absolutely. Thanks for tuning in, guys.
Bye.